Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're asking the question, why is the Prime Minister of Thailand going to the WEF, the World Economic Forum? For those who are unaware, the World Economic Forum is, I don't even know how to describe it exactly. It's, I guess you would almost say it's sort of the forum for totalitarianism, because it doesn't seem to have like an ideology per se. It's just sort of anything that's totalitarian, they're on board with. It seems like that's kind of the running theme with these folks. I've kind of kept track of this. It isn't something I've really wanted to talk about on this channel, but you know, at this point, when the Prime Minister is going over to their forum, I think it's worth bringing up like what exactly these people are all about. So I thought of making this video initially after reading a recent article from the Bangkok Post, bangkokpost.com. Article is titled PM in Davos for WEF. Quoting directly, Mr. Sreta will lead a delegation of cabinet ministers, including Foreign Minister Parnpree Bahiddha-Nukara and Transport Minister Surya Jungrung Riangkit, to attend the forum at the WEF's invitation. It will be Mr. Sreta's first visit to Europe after assuming the premiership. That's noteworthy. This is his first visit to Europe, and it's to go to the World Economic Forum. Okay? Quoting further, and also the first time in 12 years that a Thai government leader has taken part in the annual meeting. Now, if I have, I think folks who've been watching this video know I was pretty critical of certain aspects of the last government, in fact, many aspects of the last government. But if I would ever say that I had started waxing nostalgic for the former government, it was after reading that. And I want to read that again. It's worth noting. Also, the first time in 12 years that a Thai government leader has taken part in the annual meeting. And I think that was a good 12 years. Because, and we're going to drill down on these people and what they seem to be all about. And I don't know why anybody from the Thai government should be over there hanging out with these folks. Quoting further, the annual meeting brings together around 2,500 participants from all over the world, including heads of state, government leaders, and representatives of international organizations, CEOs, academics, and influential public figures. Couple of things. Did anyone vote to send any of these people to this place? And meanwhile, why are government leaders, people that we in fact elected, who are supposed to be keeping the national interest in mind, going and having these meetings? Yeah, some of it they put up online. They record it and they put out on the internet or whatever. They publicize it. But the vast majority of the meeting is behind closed doors under so-called Chatham House rules, which is we don't talk about what we said during the meeting. Why are we sending elected officials of Thailand to something like that where we don't know what they're talking about? So, and then let's get into who the WEF is. So I went over to the weforum.org, which is apparently their website. This is just one of the titles of one of the white papers that's on their page. How to harness the transformative potential of public-private partnerships. And I'm not even going to get into quoting a bunch of stuff in there. You can go in there and read that for yourself. Again, throw that on screen. Who was it that said that the marriage of corporate and state power, or public and private power, was the definition of fascism? Was that Mussolini, I believe? Again, and I'm not getting into what their ideology is because they don't seem to have one. What they seem to be on board with is just general authoritarianism, or past that, really. Because authoritarian regimes can kind of ebb and flow, really. You know, you may have a strong regime that feels the need that it needs to take certain things in hand, but it's not necessarily totalitarian. The WEF looks to me to be totalitarian, and I'm going to throw this up on screen now. This was a tweet from their own Twitter at WEF some years back or some time ago, where it said, and let's put this on screen with this smiling guy, "You'll own nothing and you'll be happy." Well, I don't know about you, but if I don't own my own food, my own home, my own method of making a living, I'm not going to be real happy. And what is that? Again, on the one hand, they're talking about public-private partnerships, state and corporate power. Again, sounds pretty fascistic. Then on the other hand, they're talking about you'll own nothing and be happy. Well, who used to talk about that? Lenin and Stalin and Marx? And I mean, that sounds pretty communistic to me. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw this clip up too. This is of Klaus Schwab, who's the guy that apparently leads this motley crew, if you will.
You have this anti-system movement. What we are seeing is a revolution against the system. So fixing the present system is not enough. Now there is, of course, an anti-system, which is called libertarianism, which means to tear down everything which creates some kind of influence of government into private lives. It's dismantling the system.
And I think it's worth noting that he sits there and talks about, oh, there's a movement that's just anti-system. Anti-system. He uses that multiple times. And then he talks about how libertarians are anti-system. Well, first off, I've never liked the moniker libertarian. I've noticed in the comment section, a lot of people call me a libertarian. I don't think of myself in those terms per se. But at its basic level, let me be clear, the Libertarian Party is its own mess. That thing's like herding cats. I've looked at that over the years in the American context. Nothing about that I'm particularly interested in. But the notion of just little L libertarian, if you will, a person who believes in liberty, I don't understand what the problem is with that. So again, you know, when I see this anti-system, and then I love this, they want to create, quote, the influence of government in private lives, unquote. That's their big goal. Okay, you know, look, I don't think it's a stretch to say that the WEF is pretty darn totalitarian. I don't think you can say they have an ideology per se. What they seem to want is just total control. That seems to be their ideology. So I question why the recently elected leader in Thailand is going to this forum. What is to benefit Thailand by this? Meanwhile, and I really get into this because, you know, I have the fervor of the converted as a naturalized Thai. I really love this country. I love the history. Thailand fought off colonialism. It held it back through various myriad ways that they managed to do that, both under force of arms as well as through effective diplomacy. Thailand held back. It was never colonized. Meanwhile, Thailand held off the worst aspects of a war that really just ravaged the world, and then came out of that and then held as the bulwark against communism, held against an ideology that killed over 120 million people that we know of worldwide. If you have any doubts about how pernicious communism is, I urge you to read Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, where he talks about just how awful it was and how much they regretted losing all of their liberties. You know, libertarian, again, little L, not interested in talking about it in a political context. But yeah, I do believe in freedom. And communism is an ideology that went against that. Thailand stood against that. You know, this WEF, I'm sorry, I don't think it's an apples to bowling balls comparison. It looks a lot like the Comintern, the old Communist International. And meanwhile, it espouses things like, you know, proto-fascism kind of ideology, which again, when you get right down to it, it's all just totalitarian. And Thailand's not a totalitarian country. It's one of the things I love about this country is Thais are free to live their lives and do what they want to do. I'm not interested in, quote, the influence of government in Thai private lives, to paraphrase and unquote. But again, why is someone from our government, two people, the Minister of Foreign Affairs as well as the Prime Minister attending this? And what have these people done for anybody? Name me a benefit that can be directly laid at the doorstep of the World Economic Forum. If anything, during the pandemic, they were pushing the most draconian types of responses. You know, and we now know that that was all nonsensical, and at the end of the day just resulted in the curtailment of our own personal liberties. And for what? No great goal was achieved. So again, I wonder what is the thinking behind attending something like this, especially when, you know, a government that was highly criticized for years and years, and there was reason to criticize, had no interest in attending this forum. Why now?